What's up, everyone? This is part one of 5 sessions on things we should know about the end times, what the Bible says and what the Bible doesn't say. I'm going to use some terms here that you may not be familiar with. And if that's the case, please hang on to the end and I will have a section on vocabulary. That'll help you understand some of the technical terms involved with the end times. This is part 1 of 5, which is about over-precision. So often, people with a certain end times view, and there's lots of different views on the end times, lots of different interpretations about how things are going to go down. And some people, when they are defending their end times view, tend to get a little bit too precise. In other words, they start saying things the Bible doesn't say in order to support their point of view over against other points of view on the end times. And I want to say right away that end times views are not salvation issues. As long as we all agree that the Lord is going to return, we can have differing views about what that means and how it's going. But I want to caution you against accepting any end times view which is over precise. In other words, that starts saying things that the Bible doesn't say. For instance, there are some end times views that say that there is an Antichrist in the book of Revelation. Well, there is no such word in the book of Revelation. And then when you push them, they'll say, well, everybody knows the beast is the Antichrist. Well, truth is the Bible doesn't say that. Maybe not. And Antichrist is used in the letters of John as a plural sometimes. Antichrists, there can be more than one. Hitler was certainly one of the antichrists. In fact, he actually tried to be an antichrist. What I mean by that is someone in the place of Christ. When people said Heil Hitler, they weren't saying hello Hitler or Hail Hitler. Heil Hitler in German, Heil means salvation. Salvation and healing. So people are saying salvation through Hitler, and Hitler said that the Third Reich would last for 1,000 years, which is what the Bible says is the time of the millennium where Christ will reign. He's putting himself in the place of Christ. So he was an Antichrist, and there could be more of them. And the Antichrist is certainly not necessarily, absolutely, the beast in the book of Revelation. But people try to bring all of that stuff together as if it's a rock-solid connection, which it's not. The other one is dealing with the rapture in 1 Thessalonians 4:13. Now, you can look at this passage, and Jesus comes in the clouds, but does he come to take us away, or does he come to rule? And depending on which you believe, you're going to read it entirely differently. I want to use the example of the English Channel. 2 important things happened along the English Channel in World War II. One was Dunkirk, the evacuation. The Germans were winning the war in the beginning, and the British troops were trapped in Dunkirk. And the English sent all of their boats out and took 300 and some thousand men and brought them safely across the English Channel to England back home. It was an evacuation. It was a retreat. Now, if you believe that Jesus comes into a burning world to take his believers out, then you're going to believe in sort of a Dunkirk view of the rapture passage, because it doesn't say one way or another if Jesus comes to take us away or whether he comes to rule. Now, if you believe in D-Day, which was the same English Channel, the British and the Americans and the Canadians landed on Normandy, and they started to take land to defeat the Germans. So Dunkirk was an evacuation, D-Day was an invasion. Is Jesus coming to invade the world and to rule, or to take us out? And the passage doesn't say one way or another, so depending on your view of what Jesus is coming to do, it's going to affect the way you look at this passage. Also, there's a lot of disagreement about the synoptic apocalypse. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the synoptic gospels, the ones that have the same basic outline. And at the end of each one of those books, toward the end of each one of those books, there is an apocalyptic place where Jesus says some very dramatic things about what's going to happen to Jerusalem. Now, if you are a preterist, you're going to believe that some of those things actually happened, that Jerusalem was destroyed in the year 70 A.D. by Titus, and most, if not all, the things that Jesus is talking about happened. Now, if you're a futurist, you're going to believe that those things are still to come and they have to do with the end times. So your preconceived notion about how this stuff works, whether you're a preterist, you believe that it's already happened, a futurist, if you believe it's going to happen. And these terms, by the way, are all defined at the end of this talk if you want to hang on for the vocabulary section. Also, symbolic versus physical. I believe that every word in the Bible is true, but some of it is symbolically true and some of it is physically true. What do I mean by that? The main character of the book of Revelation is the Lamb. Now, the Lamb in the book of Revelation is a very big deal and, of course, refers to Jesus Christ. But Jesus Christ is not going to return in the things that the book of Revelation describes as an animal with four hooves and wool. It is symbolic to call him the Lamb. It is not a physical reality. And that doesn't mean you don't believe it's true. It means you believe it is symbolic. And there's a lot of argument with end time stuff as to whether or not these things are symbolic or physical. And both sides believe that these things are true. It's just a matter of, are they symbols for other things, or are they physicalities? Are there really four horsemen coming through the sky, or are they symbolic for other things? So that's over-precision. People who defend certain end times views will be overly precise about certain things, and they'll make assumptions about other things, which lead to assumptions about other things. So I just caution you, when you feel like people are making big jumps in describing the end times, step back and say, does the Bible really say this? Where is it written? That's always a healthy way to look at the end times. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow for part 2 of 5. Thanks for sticking around for the vocabulary. Just want to share some words which are not commonly used in English in North America, but are very common in studying the end times. The first one is eschatology. It's a Greek word which means the study of the last things. The eschaton is the end of all things. Eschatology is the study of the last things. Parousia is a compound word. Ousia means being, and para as in parallel, coming alongside us. That is the return of Christ to be with us, to come alongside us and to be near to us. Preterism and futurism. There are different ways of reading predictions in the Bible. Some of the predictions may have come true already, and people who emphasize this are called preterists. They say this doesn't need to be fulfilled because it already has been. Futurists tend to see predictions in the Bible as not yet fulfilled, and they argue over whether or not these things have been fulfilled or not. You're either a futurist or a preterist when you look at predictions from the Bible in your basic temperament in how you evaluate the texts. Dispensationalism is a form of theology that was invented in the 1800s by a guy named Darby, which cuts history into 1,000-year dispensations. And those 1,000-year dispensations each have a name, and there is a different way that God deals with people during each one of those dispensations. This is not to be found directly in the Bible, but it's a way of interpreting the Bible, which includes things like a pre-tribulation rapture and things like that. It has been championed by Calvary Chapel and some other churches. It is a very popular way of looking at the end times. It's been enshrined in the Left Behind series. The tribulation is a time of great distress for Christians, and it can be looked at as a 7-year tribulation, a great tribulation, or just tribulation in general. And the millennium is from the book of Revelation, or the Bible talks about Jesus reigning for 1,000 years, or a millennium. That's the vocabulary you will need to understand these lessons. I hope that you'll watch all of them, sessions 1 through 5, things you need to know about the end times. And please pass this on to pastors, teachers, other people that you know, because we would love to have people study these very important things in the Bible. Blessings on you, and I'll talk to you again real soon.